There's a stat I saw somewhere, which is about 70% of new local downstream specific marketers don't survive past 3 years.
The fact that it looks nice, it sounds nice, does not mean that everybody would want it. You also need to understand the fact that people patronize the known, not the best. If you're the best, but I don't know you, you don't make a sale.
In situations where the banks don't necessarily see an initial benefit to what you're doing, is there a regulation in place to help them? Just because you want money, not all money is good money.
You're doing business in Nigeria, the things you have to deal with, right? The monies you have to lose that are not even, going to the business.
Whatever it is that you think you know, you need people. People are the key.
Sometimes you can collaborate and leverage, you don't have to spend as much.
There is so much work in the oil and gas industry in Nigeria. If you have that passion for it, it is not that hard, in my opinion, to do that.
Sometimes we like to feel like, I'm too pretty, please. I can't deal. I can't.
How would you rate barrier of entry into this sector? First of all, how did you even get into the sector and say, listen, I want to be an entrepreneur in this sector?
How many minutes do we have on this one? I tell people that I stumbled into energy, to be honest. After my undergrad, I studied electronic engineering. After my undergrad and my master's, my mom was like, come back to Nigeria, do NYSC, And because of my love for electronics, I was looking for the Microsofts and the Panasonics in Nigeria. And then I figured out and I saw that they were all very sales-driven. The actual engineering wasn't in Nigeria. And I started to, just apply to companies to work for NYSC. And luckily, I got into Chevron. So that is how it started. NYSC at Chevron.
That's a great start.
That's right.
Yes.
The 1%
Stumbled into Chevron.
Honestly, it was luck. Chevron for NYSC, then, stepped out of oil and gas for a bit, went to Unilever. Then most of my career was in ExxonMobil. I was in ExxonMobil for 9 years.
Okay.
Which was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. And how I stumbled into entrepreneurship in energy was just leveraging the experience and the war stripes, as they say, from Exxon. And that made me delve into my own company. And the last role I had at Exxon, this might sound like a joke, but I didn't think I was that much of a hardworking person. But that role pushed me, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I think I'm hardworking enough to do that. When you have all those ideas in your head, I'm like, yeah, let's try them out and see. And that's how,
You stumbled into entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And Dr. Yinka, this is to you too, because I know you've you said you never sold rice and beans, that's everything, but you provided the gas for them to cook it. So you're already infused in it. But how did you get into this journey of energy?
So I would like to borrow your words, to be honest. I would say I stumbled into it as well, to be honest, because it wasn't really in my radar. But I would say that, if we're Christians, right, the spirituality, I would say that I birthed the idea when I lost my dad. So I would say that I birthed it when I was grieving, because at the time it was 2020, COVID, I know the whole lockdown thing, it shook the whole world, So I was in Houston at the time, I'd come to Nigeria, I saw my dad in February, and by the time I went back 3 weeks after, he passed. Immediately he passed, it was just a few months after they shut the airspaces, aircraft could not fly and all that. And I was the only one in Houston with my brother, so I was grieving alone, as it were, So I always say that. So that's why it's hard to explain how I got into it. I always say that it was almost as if my dad gave me something to distract me.
Right.
Because when I was not grieving or crying, I was working on the business plan. I was, so it was kind of like bittersweet. But prior to that, I had been in the service industry for a bit, so consulting and all that. And if people don't see you, they don't want to do that business. Oh, no, we want it to be Dr. Yinka, I want to be, So I now thought, so in my study, I can't forget, I had this whiteboard on my study and I said, okay, I'm looking for something that is product driven. Okay. Something that they don't need to see me to buy it. Something that I don't need to go on a launch meeting or a launch date for you to want to do it or something. So I now started writing the features of what I wanted. I wanted something maybe tech-based, scalable, something that would be used by everyone, something innovative, something I could brand, because I'm good with branding, visuals, I know all of that. So I kind of had all of the features I wanted for that product. I just did not know the products, right? So eventually I was speaking to a friend of mine, and what exposure does is, as an entrepreneur, it opens up your mind to anything, right? So And then in America, I joined a lot of chambers of commerce. I went for a lot of business meetings and all that. So then I was asking a friend of mine in NIPCO, I can't forget, and I was like, this whole gas thing. So the whole gas conversation started anyways, we're talking about it. And I already know the way we buy gas in Nigeria, where you have to take your canister or your cylinder to the gas plant, you refill, and then you come back, And I said, okay, can't we have like a mobile app, like a Uber type thing, whereby I can order from the comfort of my home? So that was really like how I started it. So I can't really say precisely that there was this, eureka moment. I was like, okay, this is it. But I would just say it was really during that period of grief that I was just really, that I thought about energy. And the whole period, to be honest, even though I say it cost, there was a lot of pain during that period because a lot of people lost loved ones and all that.
Yes.
But it was almost like God gave me that time where the whole world was resting to build up a business plan and a business. So the whole 7, 8, 9 months, I was just home between grieving, doing my business plan, contacting my suppliers and all that, So I would say that it was when I lost my dad that I birthed the idea of smart energies.
Wow,
yes.
that's
amazing.
That's amazing, emotional at the same time. I don't want to cry.
Oh, Lord,
No, but and it's remarkable to be honest. What I've seen here now is, I know we're using the word stumble, but it's mainly in the right circles and actually like digging deep and thinking and seeing, in your case, it was more of the case of leveraging knowledge already.
Yes.
And you said you were in commerce, so you had people to bounce off these ideas off to do that. Now, my question would be, and it's open to the table, on a scale of 1 to 10, barrier of entry of this energy industry, from your perspective, 10 being the most difficult, right? 1 being the least difficult. And I know you've been in different industries already. How would you rate barrier of entry into this sector?
Dr. Ika,
I know you're looking at me like, okay, let's practice ladies first. This one, well
You know
done,
this.
as it suits you, not the problem. Okay, so, wow. So, now, barrier, I would say that because broadly speaking, the oil and gas sector is capital intensive, it's male dominated. One might think that the barrier to entry is quite high. However, because in this whole energy space as well, it's a very wide value chain. And depending on how you want to navigate, and that is now where strategy, innovation, collaboration, leveraging your network comes in, the barrier may not be as high as as you would typically think it is, right? So bringing it back to myself, I wouldn't say there's any barrier, as it were, which is peculiar to the energy sector that is not in any other sector. It's just really around the fact that it's the business terrain we're in Nigeria. So most of the barriers are not gender specific or anything, right? It's just you're doing business in Nigeria, the things you have to deal with, right? The monies you have to lose that are not even, going to the business. It's just you are sorting this thing and that thing, and they're not based on it. It's not affecting the bottom line positively, right? So I would say that it's not a clear-cut answer to it.
Okay.
It's just a function of where you want to play, how you want to play. Because sometimes, for someone like me, because I've done business over the years, if I have a new business idea now, the way I'll scale is really very fast compared to somebody else who doesn't have the ideas, might not have the level of resources and all that good stuff. So there's so many things that you would think about. But whatever business you want to do, what I'm just going to end that is to say, it's just strategy.
Okay.
Sometimes you're creative, you don't have to spend as much. Sometimes you can collaborate and leverage, you don't have to spend as much. So it's, So
I'll take it that broadly, from you,
yes,
it's more of like from your standpoint, you entering this, it wasn't as difficult compared to someone else that has not done any other business.
Absolutely.
So I'll put it on a 5.
Yes, exactly.
You know where Dami was going? Dami wanted a number.
I'm sorry, I can't give a number, right? I can't, because again, you will not even look at the challenges, right?
Yeah.
You just really want to go.
Just
For me,
that
it's almost like I jump in and then I figure it out, right? Because I don't overthink things too much. Again, just because you have done these kind of things over the years, it's like a muscle. The more you go to the gym, the more you tone it, the more you're likely to make more calculated risk and all that good stuff. So from my own lenses, going into the energy sector, it wasn't like, oh my goodness, what are they, I'll just, figure it out as I go, kind of thing.
That's good
right?
too.
Yes.
That's great. I come to you.
So, Dami, let me say 3.
Okay.
And
that's interesting.
Exactly.
That's good.
But the reason why that is something that Tonika said that should not be underrated in the slightest is the wide value chain. So energy, particularly in Nigeria and sub-Saharan Africa, we can break it down into oil and gas, renewables, etc. Oil and gas in itself is a different ballgame. You have the upstream, you have the midstream, you have the downstream. Now, in the upstream, you might be exploring, you might be drilling, you might be producing, you might be operating, you might be providing services, right? Speaking of my time in the upstream, particularly when I was at Exxon, we had very well established contractors. Local and foreign contractors are like, but those contractors also had subcontractors.
Yes.
And subcontractors also had subcontractors, right? And the reason why I say that is, if there's something you might be good at, maybe a pipe fitting, or you're good at working double block and bleed valves, or you have a vessel, or you're an electrician that you're just fantastic at what you do. There is so much work in the oil and gas industry in Nigeria. There's so much work that if you have that passion for it, that entrepreneurial passion to get started, it is not that hard, in my opinion, to get started. Now, sustainability after you start is a different conversation, right? But because of the fact that there's just so much that we need to do in Nigeria, I don't think the barrier to entry is that high, right? Now, if you're looking for something specific, I want to be the drilling manager in Total, something that's specific where the triangle getting to the top is quite difficult. Then that's a different conversation.
Okay.
But just getting into this industry, entrepreneurially speaking, I don't think it's that hard. Now, in the last few years, the barrier might have even got down to 2. And the reason why I say that is because of the departure of some of the IOCs, right? Where there are now more local players in Nigeria, and because we are like in an echo chamber in energy in Nigeria where most of us know ourselves. So by virtue of knowing ourselves, we think we're a good number of people. We are not. We're very few compared to the populace.
Good way to look at it.
Right. So when you look at it that way, you realize that there are a lot of opportunities if you want to be an entrepreneur in this field. You just don't say you want to own an oil asset or you want to operate an oil asset if you've not done some things first. So dependent on
what you're looking for. To go in, there's levels
especially as it's been the mainstay of the Nigerian economy. There's just so much to be done. Really.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you mentioned sustainability in terms of how long people stay in the industry, because that leads me to my next question. There's a stat I saw somewhere, which is about 70% of new local downstream specific marketers don't survive past 3 years. And when I saw that, the first thing that came to my head was, yes, despite this barrier of entry being so low, right? What would you think from just your opinion, why people would not be able, that longevity? Because why start something in 3 years, you're off? Typically 3 years, in some business have not even broken even.
Correct.
Right? So you've not even started really. You are still, why in your opinion, from your lenses, why do you think, and what's that sending, what message is that sending to new innovators coming into such sector?
70% sounds like an alarming number.
I was shocked when I saw it. I don't know how true or how, statistics is something we struggle with.
No, but on the assumption that is true, I mean, the thing that will come to mind for me would be the pre-commencement of your business. Have you factored in the many critical parts to it? right? If you have a downstream business, for example, Dr. Eka talked about it, the supply chain. We factor in what comes upstream to what you're downstreaming for, right? When you have situations where businesses are exiting, there are a number of reasons why, right? It could be that they are building a conglomerate, they are selling to bigger people, or it could be that I've not gotten as much profit as I would have wanted and I want to do something else. Because energy, particularly going to your particular question, the downstream is, while I'm not as familiar with it as with the upstream. I mean, I've worked with a few people that own few downstream businesses, and what they tell me is the effort that goes into it at the start, first 5 to 7 years, is a little bit tough before you now exponentially, increase. So while I'm not judging each individual, I'm curious to know, are you sort of patient enough to see through the initial pains? And another thing Dr. Ika talked about, I keep going back to you because you made some good points at the start.
You guys have called this Dr. Inka so many times.
We are not living here. We're not living here calling you Inka. No way.
If I could take that doctor to the bank now to withdraw some dollars, won't I be happy?
But there's something that she said that was quite important as well. Running a business generally is hard. Downstream, upstream, whatever it is, right? Have you run some other businesses that you failed and succeeded in? Right. If you have, I think the likelihood of you quitting after 3 years might be a lot lower as well. So I think there are a number of factors. The value chain, the supply chain in this industry is quite much, number one. Number two, is there patience enough to withstand the initial, tough period? Number three, have you done something else in the past that would, sort of mitigate the pains?
Okay.
Right. And number four, I mean, these are things that you can't control. Finances could run out, regulations could be tough. You might just find that you embark on a project that maybe wasn't as successful. These things happen generally. Yeah. So I think number four might be things that are not within our control, I'd say.
Correct.
Do you have any 2 cents to add?
Yes, I do, for sure. So I kind of feel like I should look into the camera when I'm saying this. People are hearing me. When the Bible says, "You as ears, listen hear what the scripture says to the churches." Anyway, just kidding. So without really focusing on the energy sector, when you talk about the longevity of businesses, I think the stats even says that SMEs that start, they're likely to fold up within the first 5 years. Because the first 5 years is where you're starting, you're trying to establish, you're trying to establish proof of concept and all that. So that's not even when growth really happens and all that good stuff. So for me, one rule of the thumb is the buck stops with me. So it now comes to the leadership, the visionary. What you see with most entrepreneurs is, I have this idea in my head, but Dami has to be the one to implement it. So if you even ask the team members, they're not clear on the vision. They're not clear on the mission. You're just feeling like, someone should fill in the boxes. So for me, to be honest, there's no part of my business I can speak with. So there's nobody I'm going to hire. And then my leadership style is mentoring, right? Okay. So I would not assume you know it. I will tell you how it needs to be done based on the culture of the company. So a lot of work needs to be done by the visionary of the business. A lot. And then, so it starts with that. It starts with your team members as well. You're only as good as your team. Even if I'm an A-list, I tell my team members, I need high performance only. I'm not looking for B+. All I want is A. I'm sorry. Meaning, I need a minimum of 70%. All the things that my beautiful sister was doing the other time, in my head, I'm like, oh my goodness, I love this girl already. Because you will see when somebody is just diligent and the difference will show, because excellence of those days are standards today. So I'm big on excellence, right? And that's the only way we have been able to achieve what we have achieved now, again, because, so my point is the leadership is very important. So to business owners who feel, but I've hired the HR person, that you know what to do, but I've hired, you need to ensure that they are doing all those things. When those structures are now in place, processes are in place, when anybody comes in, they fit into those processes. And there has to be checks and balances. So that's one. Number 2 is, for me, flexibility and adaptability. Right. Because people always have changing tastes and demands. You see people that they feel like their passion, I'm so passionate about this thing, does not mean that is what my audience wants, right? So you need to understand the vibes of the environment, the vibes of your target audience. You need to understand that your product is not for everybody. The fact that it looks nice, it sounds nice, does not mean that everybody would want it. You also need to understand the fact that people patronize the known, not the best. If you're the best, but I don't know you don't make a sale, right? And you need to understand, back to flexibility, we're in the era where everybody's on camera, the videos, so all those things matter. Right? So again, back to the visionary, you need to understand the times. What are the policies saying? When I came into the oil and gas sector, which I was never in, I needed to delve into it. What did I do? Like I said, I joined the Women in Energy Network. I joined the LCCI, LPG Association. I joined Nigeria LCGA. So I joined places where I would quickly understand the sector, because it's what I know as a visionary. Mine is to do the big networks. I'm the one that drives the strategy. Implementation, I leave it to the team members. Issues around delegation again. So all of these things are not necessarily because the business line you're in is not good. It's usually around most times it's around how you are just managing your business. Right. Even issues around financing. What is a need? What is a want? We always, when we start a business, we love our logos, we love the bills. Those things are not adding to the bottom line. We are putting a lot of money on those. So for me, and that's why when I do things I talk about in my mentoring, whatever, we have big dreams, start small, scale up, know when to pivot. You start a business it might not really be the right business for you because you didn't do your market research. Some people say, no, I have to. So it's a whole lot of things that goes into this. So it's not just within the energy sector. In any business, the buck stops at your desk as the visionary. And the earlier everybody knows that as a business owner, the better.
I love what has been put to the table right now. I'm getting, be hands-on, from what you're saying. And from what you're saying is also like that patience,
Yes.
There's a point where you're like, it's not looking at the vision of what you want it to be, but there's a staying power you have to have, until you get there. And maybe people just don't have that. Or maybe they are selling the business. Maybe we need to find out. Maybe we need to find out you sell your business as quickly as
Everybody's looking for, we're looking for, please, what's the quick turnaround? So that's
absolutely correct. And you mentioned the point on capital, which and scaling, which is my next question. Now, I'm scared of bringing up another statistics I found, based on the last conversation.
That means finding scary stats.
Stats are good.
So this is what I came across, right?
Yes.
And I came across, it was one of the newspapers, and it was like, reportedly, over 65% of SMEs financing applications in the energy sector gets rejected. 65%. And there was a time when we were on a panel, we spoke about bankable projects.
Yeah.
So it helps me think, what are the banks seeing that we are not? And this is just on the table. What do you think? I know this is not your issue.
What are the
What do you mean it's not my issue?
No, maybe I have plenty.
You don't know whether the banks are looking at me now. I don't have money issues, please.
Maybe you have.
Please, I have.
Well, if you don't mind me going on this one, what are the banks saying that we are not? I think it's, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That is the mentality of most banks I've sort of come across in sub-Saharan Africa generally. So, Dami, you have a situation whereby, you have some sort of a creative idea in the space, or you're just coming as an SME that is not even necessarily in energy, but you need an energy product, and you're trying to get financing, right? The result is literally usually the same. To give an example, I walked into I won't mention their names because we are trying to still work with them. But I walked into a Nigerian bank in April this year. I was invited for a meeting to speak about what we do and, what are our pain points, how could they help. And the branch manager, she was quite fantastic. She was very open with me and honest with me. And that was on a Wednesday. And she told me, we have an investment committee coming up in the next few days. If I bring what you are doing as a company or what your customers want from you, from a financing standpoint as a company, it's going to sound good, but I don't think it's going to pass the first stage. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, why? And then she goes, this is not something that they're used to. And when you have an investment committee and you have like 100 or so ideas, you want to quickly get through. So the thing is, are we, now when I say we as in Nigeria as a whole, or maybe the government, or maybe the regulators, are we giving the banks the opportunities to be flexible or innovative in what they're doing? That's number one, right? Number two, in situations where the banks don't necessarily see an initial benefit to what you're doing, is there a regulation in place to help them mitigate the quote-unquote reduced ROI that they might get from engaging you at the start, right? Because whatever business it is, especially energy that I keep saying is the mainstay of any economy, whatever business that it is, right? If it's new or if it's innovative or if it's not necessarily bringing in the profit that you require at the start, but you know that there's something here, we need external factors to also help. Otherwise, if you're a financier, whether you're a bank or an individual, I'll just go, oh, my buying and selling has worked for me. Why should I come to you, you know? Now, speaking specifically about SMEs, we cannot use the same paintbrush for every wall. It's not possible, right? The bankability of Nigerian SMEs or African SMEs have been so underrated, right? We are such a very hardworking group of people that our default rate as a company, as I'm proud to say, they are very low. But looking at it from the outside, you wouldn't expect that because, oh yeah, I'm giving this person money, they're not paying back. But if you're able to sit down with them to actually have conversations, structure it specific to each, maybe not each individual because that would be too much, but each specific group of people, that would help. Where this 65% percentage you're talking about, I think is a lot higher, by the way. To be honest. It starts to reduce because now you're speaking their language and they're speaking yours. Because if you're a financier as a bank or an individual, the most important thing is I want my money back plus more. And trust me, Nigerian SMEs will give you your money back plus more. But they won't give you if you just have the same criteria for everybody. It's not going to work.
That's deep.
Exactly.
I didn't mean it to be, but
that's deep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You're right.
Wow, that's a lot to think about. Do you have anything to add?
Yes, I think I agree with him, for sure. I would, of course, because I'm not speaking, I'm not representing myself, I'm just saying the opinion generally. I'll be double-mouthed about it. Just like he has said, the banks are for profits, right? And the major thing that can bankrupt a bank is bad loans, debts and things like that. So understandably, they try to apply caution. But there's also that part where a number of banks are so profit-driven that they're not patient to understand the concepts of that business, right? They don't really and that was his last point, when he said they really don't understand the concept, the viability of the projects. And SMEs are also the mainstay of the economy, right? So you can't use the same criteria for everybody because you can't throw away the baby and the bathwater just because some people are defaulting. To be honest, some people, like you said, will pay your loan and they'll pay the interest and pay a whole lot more, and the scale, right? So it's hard to get loans in the banks, that's the truth. But it's doable. A lot of people are getting it. They start by building very small relationships. They start by, borrowing 100,000 to 500,000 to 1 million. So there's relationship over time.
Yeah.
And to be honest, as silly as it may sound, your account officer makes a very big deal too. If you have an account officer that really believes in your project, there's a way, because I've worked in the banking sector before, and I have very good account officers, they'll really go above and beyond, to put you in front of the right people who you can sell your products to and all that. But on a final note, I would say that it would be nice for the banks to do a whole lot more than what they're doing. They are declaring a lot of profits, first quarter profits, very staggering numbers and all of that. I'm always seeing all those debit alerts, all those charges of maintenance of this or that, So to be honest, it would be nice for them to do their own. But I understand the fact that integrity is a big thing in Nigeria. They talk about the big C's when you have, character, credibility, just a few things, and a lot of Nigerians, have proven not to be so credible in so many ways, right? So I understand that. But again, my point is there can be other measures that you can use, to assess someone. Collateral is a major thing that really makes people that makes them not qualify for it? Are there other things you can collateralize? Are they, just to So for me, I think a lot of SMEs are doing great things. They're just looking for support to leverage, to scale. And of course, that will affect the bottom line of the economy, because that way they get to hire more people, they get to build more manpower, human capital development and all that. And of course, I also feel like the governments can do a whole lot in that sector too, because in the energy sector, for example, there's been conversations around single-digit loans, from Bank of Industry, from NextName and a few other places, just to promote, gas adoption and all that good stuff. At the end of the day, a lot of them, they're just theory on paper, or it's just a select few that gets it. So it's a whole lot of things you have to unpack in this whole financing thing. And that's why for those who are not able to, they can either scale based on cash flow, which was what we started doing, reach out to family and friends. Some people can even do crowdfunding, they can do bootstrapping. So there's a whole lot of other options you want to start looking at, even grants. And then one last thing is we have to start putting our papers, our books in order. A lot of SMEs, we don't do that. They commingle funds, they are paying these payments in my personal account, business account. So we have to stay informed. Back to what I said about leadership, right? You have to know what the tax laws are saying. You have to have your compliance documents, And the men are very good at that. I would say that. I'll bring the gender into it now. Men are really very, because they're very ambitious, very, sometimes they collaborate, to get their papers together so they can present a very united front, have some SPV they put together. Women are usually not as assertive as that, right? So it's a lot of all those things. But is it doable to access the funds? Yes, it'd be harder, right? Because of the terrain and the people and so many other factors.
That's interesting, because you mentioned something which was leading to my next question.
Oh my
God.
I'll
stay with you.
I must have seen your questions.
I'll stay with you, because you said single digit loans, right? And it's known that, it's between 25% to 30%.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you're going to answer this, to be honest with you.
I don't have to answer it now.
So you can ask it now.
You can pass it to him.
It doesn't mean you'll be answered.
No. Okay.
When does this, make you unreasonable to be an entrepreneur because of cost of capital? Because 25 to 30.
It's something. Yes. It's something. Yes. And that's why I said, again, you have to know your business. At the time we started Smart Energy, Smart Gas, we were Smart Gas at the time, we were doing LPG. The whole gas business was a lot more profitable than it is now, right? So it made no sense to go to a commercial bank to go and get a loan when your margin on the LPG is what, right? So you only have to look at the single digit loans, right? So it depends on your... It all depends on your kind of business. Right now, I know that my company, we're trying to get there's this promo that one of these car companies are doing for electric cars, and it's a December promo, and they're giving very good rates and all that. And we asked for the rate. I think the rate is about 38%. That's crazy. And I said, okay, if I pay back within, it's meant to be a 3-year loan.
38%.
And I'm like, if I'm able to pay back in 1 year and I'm paying into my principal, I hope I'll not have to pay all of this money, And they said, oh, of course, so my point, 38%. What's business are you doing that you are getting a loan from the bank at that rate and all that? So before we start jumping into getting loans, and people will say, oh, all I need is money. I know my business will grow. All I need is, it's not really that. So there's a whole lot of things that you need to think about, So it is what it is. For me, what I can't change, I just look for how to navigate it, right? So if the loan is too expensive, what are your other options to it? And again, that brings me to when you're doing business, you're doing it right, and you're making sure that you have the right visibility, because people are watching, people are saying anything that has to do with gas now or grassroots. Randomly, people just keep sending to me, Yinka, is this you? Was this your company that did it? Just because you are top of mind. So when you're doing all those things, it's not because you want people to patronize you. It's just because you want them to know you are creating the impression, this is my line of business. So you have already created credibility. So sometimes when you're just going to meet some people and say, you know what, I'm trying to do this. I already have X amounts. Can you give me 30 million, 100 million? You'll be shocked how help will arise, right? So it takes a lot of intentionality when you are just doing things generally.
Yeah, thanks. So Dami, for my take on it, let me go back to an additional answer to the previous question, and then I'll link into this. We talked about, your question was on banks and the SMEs. While we all kind of understand that the banks need to do more, right? We also need to do more.
Yes.
As companies. Now, what do I mean by that? One thing that we realize at Amfani, Because one part of our business is something we've called the supply side part of the business, right? Now, on the supply side part of the business, we sort of realized that there are a number of very brilliant mini-grid developers in Nigeria today, right? When it comes to knowing their stuff, they know their stuff. But that's not enough, right? You need to build a business model. You need to engage with communities. You need to actually execute the project, right? Now, it is usually very difficult for somebody that doesn't know where to start from. Because for you to walk into the banks, for you to start building the relationship with your account managers, as you said, you need to even know that you need to build a relationship in the first place.
True.
So we realized that we decided to put something we called an ADF, which is the Amfani Development Fund, right? And that fund is pretty much to get mini-grid developers from 0 to 1, from 0 to bankability, not even project execution yet, right? And then we had another fund that we added to it called the Infrastructure Fund, which is, from 1 to scale, right? But that 0 to 1 is very simple, right? Creating SPVs with mini-grid developers where there is a certain amount that we've put together for community development, for business model. Oh, you want to do a mini-grid in Ekpe or Oshogo or somewhere in Kebbi, for example, right? How do we get your solution to the point where you can now engage the bank or engage the financial institution? That helps them to the point where the bank is even willing to listen. So while there is a lot of, angst, I'll say, with banks and the likes, there is also a responsibility for the likes of the three of us on this table, right? That thankfully, with our career, our experiences have given us the opportunities to see what needs to be done. How do we bring everybody else along profitably? Because we run businesses, right? How do we bring everybody else along? So just to add to that. Now, going back to the is it the craziness of the interest rates?
Interest rate.
Our DFIs, like the BOIs, we have to give them credit on this, right? Because we know the commercial banks are driven by, CBN regulations, right? CBN regulations are driven by, the monetary policies. There are some things that we can't, it's not worth fighting because it is what it is, right? However, by virtue of the work that the BOIs and the DBNs and the Frexims and the Nexims and the AFDBs and the likes are doing is creating the opportunity where there is a little bit of quote unquote suffering at the start because, they're like, I could give rates at 30 something, but I'm giving it as single digits. But there's a reason why they're doing that because at the end it works. At the end, there is such proliferation of whatever it is that you're doing that the profit turns over and over again. And once you're a business that is making money, whatever country that you're in, you're paying more taxes. There's a general positive effect, right? So the rates are a little bit high, of course, but we don't have to go to those banks if, especially, you are not making more.
Yeah, to cushion.
Exactly, because like she said, just because you want money, not all money is good money. Not all money is good money. But the opportunity that the financial institutions, the DFIs particularly, are putting into place would also help. And I think they are helping. Again, it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while. More people need to be aware of this. And not just aware, more people need to know what to do. And if you already know what to do, it can bring other people into knowing what to do without necessarily, breaking your back on it. Create an agreement, create an SPV. Okay, if you get this is what comes to me. All above board. Correct. Make it profitable for you. And then the more businesses make money, the better it is for the economy. Yeah.
Thank you. We could stay here, but I'll move on swiftly. And the next theme of my thought process is the people, politics, and I would say power play, right? And if we think of it that way, so from your experience, what's the most we've spoken about this a bit, understated non-technical skills that you would say people need in this sector, in the energy sector, right? To stay, especially in the Nigerian political scene, in our environment, right? Yes, you can be a great engineer, you can be this, but once you step into the entrepreneurial world, what's that non-technical that you say, forget that you're a lawyer, forget that. in your own opinion, that you believe will help? I know we've touched on it a bit.
Okay, this might have to look at the camera now.
It's about to get serious.
See, 2 words: stakeholder management. Honestly, 2 words: stakeholder management. And I say that because whatever it is that you think you know, you need people. People are the key, right? Now, let me go back to looking at the table. And I say that because if you're a religious person and you pray to God, oh God, I want to get to Ikoyi from Lekki safely, and you have a driver.
Yeah.
You won't get there safely if your driver hits someone, right? God uses people to answer your prayers. And of course, because it's God, you can decide not to. But there are 8 billion people on this earth. You can't do things on your own, right? Now, let's go into the actual for the energy space. Because there's just so much that needs to be done. No matter how good you are inside your house, if you're not engaging the people, if you're not going to maybe a ministry somewhere or an agency somewhere or an oil and gas company somewhere or an oil and gas servicing company somewhere or a conference somewhere or an event somewhere, you will never know, right? You just sit in your house, oh, I'm good at maintenance pigging, for example, or I'm good at installing deep water manifolds. These are amazing technical skills. But if you're not putting yourself in the conversations, right? Again, Dr. Inka, I'm sorry. There's something she said about, when things happen in gas and people message her. It didn't happen overnight.
True.
She paid her dues. She kept listening to all the organizations that she signed up for. Things like that do happen. But again, stakeholder management, it encompasses these things, speaking to people, engaging with people. And please, patience. Yes. Patience is... I tell my team a lot. I tell them this a lot, and I think it's way too much at this point. I'm like, if you put in the work and it doesn't work out, we can go to bed easy.
Correct.
But if it doesn't work out because you've not,
not done it,
dotted the I's and crossed the T's, it will still keep lingering, right? There are some people that till today, they are very good friends of mine. There are some that are good mentors of mine. I'm speaking to them. They're in the industry. Oh, we need to do this together. I'm like, Bolariwa, wait. Of course I would do it. I don't have much of a choice. Nothing could come out of it. But then again, there's something about resilience that people like and people admire, right? If you keep at it, I would say more often than not, things come out. Again, I mark that under stakeholder management. So in the non-technical skill, stakeholder management, please do not underrate it. Yeah.
Thank you. I know you have a lot to say.
Honestly. See, and it's all, at the end of the day, semantics. This stakeholder management talked about, I will also call it relationship building. It's the same thing we're talking about. In real estate, when they say location. In this case, we're all saying relationship. Don't burn bridges. And sometimes I think, again, for women, sometimes we like to feel like, I'm too pretty, please. I can't deal. I can't. See, this is your pretty. God. The next person out there is prettier than you. Calm down. It's not that deep, madam. But the truth is, as a woman, I keep saying it, you can use your femininity in a dignifying way that by the time you are coming, me, I'll just go sit down me now, please. I'm not joking, no. See, my sister, can you attest to that? What a woman will do. But some of us are already doing tough, of course, does not mean that when you get to certain places, you don't own your own, right? Yeah. But I'm just trying to say that relationship is everything. Before money can do anything, relationship will do it. Before you can deploy that resource, a phone call will do it. And I have numerous examples to talk about that. So that's one, relationship building. It's very important. The other thing, again, is knowledge. You can't rise above your level of information. So it's important that you stay knowledgeable in the sector. I remember my mom, of blessed memory, she would tell me that God will grant you the spirit of witty inventions. You know that sometimes when you're the first to do something, you're either the dumbest or the smartest. Do you understand? So there's no such thing as it cannot be done differently.
Yeah.
So sometimes you are somewhere, you are overwhelmed. It does not mean that there's not something else that is not right in the public space. That, just like you said, there are engineers, there are subcontractors. There's just so many things, So within the sector, I would say build relationships. And then I would say serve. Be very authentic. A lot of people are just looking for, what can I get? What can I get? There's so many people that you have just been friends with, not because you plan on getting anything from them, but just down the line, not so long, you see why they're very critical in certain things. So be genuine in giving of yourself, to be a resource to somebody, without wanting anything in return. Because the way the world is wired, one way or the other, that person will still pay it up. You understand what I'm saying, right? So it's just the same way that, we met at an event.
Yes.
We're here on your invitation, and I'm like, oh, Dami can actually help me when I'm trying to do my podcast the other side. So that's the way life is, right? So if you are that kind of person that you want to be a resource to people genuinely, there's a way the world rewards you.
Yeah.
So I would say that, don't burn bridges, except you absolutely need to. Don't burn that bridge. An enemy today, an ally tomorrow.
Amazing.
Yes.
Amazing. See, in case I burnt any bridges, guys, I'm sorry.
I know, right? I'm sorry. Nothing personal.
We'll build the bridge back.
I found out. I asked a lot of people, just in general, before we had this talk, just to ensure I dig deep. And one of the questions was, "What's your biggest barrier?" Which we asked earlier. A lot of people said something to me, and which was very important. They said gatekeeping in the energy space. And I think that goes back to your question, what you just said about the relationship. And I asked them that, listen, is it worse than finance? Because I would have felt a lot of people would say capital. They said no. It's actually from a gatekeeping standpoint. I don't want to belabor the point, but I think you've already addressed it by, of that relationship, stakeholder management, it's people that will get you into this place, that will give you that knowledge, as you said, because there are a lot of things not written down. It's, as you said, the wounds, the battle scars, these are what will teach entrepreneurs. So I would just gladly skip over that.
I would like to make a point. So when I also started, there were some critical people in the sector that I said, I would like to speak with these people, not because number one, I want them to know me, and then I want to have that access. Access, it's priceless. So critical names, I'll schedule it because there's always somebody that knows that person you want to meet. People always say there are 3 people between you and that person you want to meet, right? So I met those people and I said, hey, this is who I am, this is what I've done, and this is what I want to do. And they'll give you advice such that it will totally change your perspective, on how you want to do things. So mentors, sponsors, business advisors, you can't underrate it. It's very important.
Very key.
Yes.
I want to go to tough calls. Tough calls. So they've signaled me that was sure.
So when I knew.
So you know what? This is what I'm going to do, right?
Okay.
I'll just ask different questions to different people so that we know because of this.
Okay.
We're looking at.
Before they come off the mic, off the mic.
So I will start with you for tough calls. What's the one tough call, whether it's against people's advice, against people's knowledge, or against anything that you have to make, and why?
Tough call. So just because of the way, so I'm very simplistic about life, so I wouldn't say that anything jumps to my head, but I would say that in business, the major tough calls will usually be when you're firing people, even though I've gotten so good at that now, right? Of course, you do it through HR. I know that.
you pass the ball.
Yep. So I think that would be it, really. Okay. Again, because as an entrepreneur, you understand that tough calls are part of your everyday life.
Oh, yeah.
You understand. So it's no longer now a tough call. It's just like, well, it is what I have to do, and then I'll suck it up type of thing. So nothing jumps at me, unfortunately, as a tough call, or, but I just do what I have to do, and I try to seek support, to ensure that maybe I cushion the effects or whatever it is and all that. Yes. So
okay, I'll come to you on terms of failure. The risk and failure. What's your biggest financial hit? Like, not numbers, we're not asking, and that you've taken, in this your entrepreneurial journey that's even shook you that you're like, man, maybe I should, maybe I should pivot. I've not started. I've not gone too far. I can still.
Damn it. Biggest financial hit. Might be a project that we did earlier this year. Yeah, yeah, and you know, it was a financial hit at the time, but in the last few months, it's just been an amazing blessing in disguise, right? So we, without going into specifics, of course, we invested in a project here in Nigeria as well. Cost us a good amount of money, and we're expecting a monthly revenue on it. And for 3 or 4 months, the revenue didn't come. And we had an agreement with some of our partners on the project. And the simple reason why the revenue didn't come is because the project wasn't just executed right. Right? And now, I didn't think about that until you asked me that question. And the reason why that is I promise you, in my mind, we didn't look at it as failure. We just look at, this is a lesson for us, you know, and we learned from it. So what we did was, we're not going to completely lose out on this project. So we went through months of lessons learned and engaging SMEs, things that maybe we should have done before. But again, we live and we learn, right? Engaging SMEs, engaging super brilliant people. Please, we need your help on this. And then we found ways to, even though we had to, you know, add additional capex to the project, we found ways to thankfully, successfully revive that project, right? But in the middle of reviving it, what you would first think about is, oh, money was lost, or we went over budget on the project. Those two things are true. However, for my team, the lessons that we've learned in the last 6 months on that particular project has set us up for the future of projects of that level and even similar, where even though we might have, you know, I won't call it a failure, we might have learned some tough lessons on this project. It has helped us, you know, build and, you know, thankfully now we're on the up and up on that project, right? And everybody on the team that was involved, whether technical or otherwise, I am quite confident that you put them in a room with people that are looking to do that type of project anywhere in the world right now, and they'll hold their own. That wouldn't have happened if the project was successful and we didn't factor in all those things, right? So for me, I would say it was a lesson. It was a lesson that was tough at the time, of course, but in hindsight, to be honest with you, I'm glad it happened. I'm glad it happened, to be honest.
Great. I'm just going to lay this on the table to whoever wants to take a stab at it, right? And it's from a regulatory standpoint, you know. What's one thing that, you know, would unlock massive growth in your businesses from a regulatory standpoint? Because I want to go from a positive stance on this one. Because I know if I ask what's wrong with regulations or what's something that you're not totally happy, I'm sure we have a lot to talk about. But what's one thing that, you know, if it's little change here and there, would exponentially grow your lines of businesses in this sector?
So for me, I'll just say that it's the policies they put in place and then the enforcement of those policies. So, for example, now we do electric motorcycles. In Lagos State, there's a ban on Okadas or motorcycles, and then they have like these requirements, minimum requirements on the kind of cars that can, bikes that can go around. Understandably so, because of the menace of a lot of other things, you know. But at the time they did it, for sure, they weren't thinking about electric motorcycles. Right. And if you're talking about e-mobility and talking about this whole conversation around energy transition, your policies would affect the attitude and the investments people make in the sector. You know, so most times now you see that if you're trying to sell the electric motorcycles in Nigeria and in Lagos, just because of the ambiguity around it, some people are pushing back to say, oh, can I ride it in Lagos? Maybe it's better in the north, just because there's no clarity around that, right? Then issues around importation, duty, when they tell you that you're not paying duty on certain items that are gas or cylinder related, renewable energy, but you know, when you get to the ports, they're quite different, right? You know, so again, back to this issue around electric motorcycles. In China, at least maybe 95% of people use electric motorcycles, such that it's so easy for you to even get the plate number, the cars. They make everything easy. The infrastructure is there. So naturally, you gravitate towards, I'm not even going to buy a petrol-powered, just because the policies are being in place, right? So I would say that within the sector, there shouldn't be a lot of... so the policies should attract investments, and they should see it through that those policies are being enforced in the different agencies. They shouldn't be... so times that you have to maybe have a license and they'll tell you that, this license would expire in about 6 months. You have to renew the whole process again, and it's very cumbersome. Why can't you make it 1 year, 2 years? What's the idea behind the 6 months? If you're being efficient in your processes, you won't use every little thing as an income generating avenue, so, and then they need to sit together with stakeholders in the sector, right? Not really the known names all the time, when you're coming around with all these policies, you can't shave my head behind my back. So bringing the right people, and again, back to the people in power, it has to be based on competence, right? Exactly, not compensation or anything like that, so that those conversations can be heard and all that. So I would say policy and enforcement of the policies is what I would say.
Thanks, Dr. Ike, on that one. Then what I would say is, in the last 6 years, 2019, to date, there's been a lot of positive regulatory opportunities in oil and gas and renewables, particularly in the energy industry. We have to give the regulators a good credit on that one, particularly with, companies that get tax holidays for a few years. These things go a long way. However, innovation always precedes regulation, right?
Yeah.
So my answer to your question would be a lot more responsiveness of the regulators to change. Right? External and internal change. So external in that, we had this regulation for a particular type of company, but they've innovated. I mean, we're in the AI age now. Things are moving quite astronomically. They've innovated. How do we catch up with that so that we are not, the ones pulling them back? That's on one end, externally. Internally, like she said, if you have a regulation where you need to renew your license every 2 years, but if you realize after an internal audit or review that it's not sustainable, and you want to do it every 6 months or every 5 years, maybe you want to increase or decrease it, how quickly are you adaptable to change? Right? So I think responsibility of the regulators will go a long way. And it is a global thing. I mean, change is constant, but it is hard. And with regulators, you're looking at it on both sides. Okay, so if I'm feeding into innovators and letting them do their things, that will really hurt the average person. So their job is not. I can't do their job. Their job is not easy. The job is not easy, but I would say responsiveness to internal and external factors will go a long way with regulators in this industry.
Thank you. So we're coming to the end of the podcast. I could stay all day, but I have 2 more questions, and it's pretty easy, and it's one sentence. I'm going to ask both of you, right? And the first question is, if you could give one brutal, honest truth to a 25-year-old entering this sector and wants to be an entrepreneur, in your opinion, what's the advice you're going to give to that person?
In how many sentences? Oh, you're asking for the impossible.
Yeah.
So I would say that the world is your oyster, and the world will always create room for you. I always like to put a caveat to it, however, that everybody is not cut out to be an entrepreneur. It takes a whole lot. And you need to understand that it's not the all almighty. Because an entrepreneur cannot do anything without their team members. You're equally as important as an implementer, as an operations person, right? So you really need to know whether you're cut out for entrepreneurship. It requires a lot of grit. It requires a lot of self-motivation. It requires a lot of, it will drain you, right? But of course it is rewarding, so you really need to understand, am I cut out for entrepreneurship? That's one. And the number 2, it's never too late for you to do anything. Just find your niche, give it staying power, and continue to surround yourself with people who would always advise you. And then, of course, there's that inner conviction. Never, for me, it's a very big thing. And keep learning. Self-development is the best investment you can do. And I wish you good luck.
Before you move on.
No, you said one sentence.
Before you move on.
Oh, you said one
Before you move on,
sentence.
so that there's another question. And I'm going to ask you that same question. We typically ask our guests on the show, our name is the energy hack.
Okay.
So what's your energy hack? What's that thing that's low-key, that's like your superpower? That's your secret weapon?
Oh, easy.
Do you understand?
Easy.
So I'll just use that to end.
Okay. And my superpower are my two amazing sons, Shimilori and Timothy.
Giving us emotions right now. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you. So I'll come to you now as we round up on, the advice and also what's that superpower, that energy hack.
So, advice to a 25-year-old person, hope is not a plan. I think that would be my advice. And I'm speaking to a 25-year-old me now. And the reason why I say that is, we all have career plans. We have goals. This is what I hope to be when I'm 30, when I'm 40. I mean, life hits us and we realize that adulthood is very different.
Yeah.
So hope is not a plan. So what I mean by that, if you want to delve into this space, you have to plan for it. You're not going to, what you don't know. So you're not going to mitigate against every risk, right? But plan as much as you can before you delve into it. Because it is not easy, but I believe it's worth it.
Yeah.
So don't hope. And if you are one of those that you pray a lot, pray. Yeah, but heaven helps those who help themselves. Pray, but don't fold your hands. Right. Plan as much as you can. Everything that was said today. Speak to people. Get the knowledge. Relationship management. Stakeholder management. Be intentional about your days in getting into this, but don't just jump in. No, please. Plan. It's like with anything, just plan as diligently as you can. Right.
Thank you. What's your energy hack? Your superpower.
It's supporting family. It's supporting family.
Both of you are just...
No, because I do remember. I do remember when I was trying to go into this, right? I started my MBA at the time, and I'm like, I want to go into this. Spoke to my wife, spoke to my mother, spoke to my dad, spoke to my siblings. They were like, "Are you sure? Come back to us in a number of weeks." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sure." They were like, "Yeah, you have our blessing." Right? And that's sort
that's
of
all you need.
That's all you need. That's in my opinion, that's all you need internally. Now, externally with work colleagues and shareholders, stakeholders, as the case may be, I don't think anything can't be done. Me personally, like I tell people it's not a question of why, it is why not. Should we try this here? Why not? What is the worst that would happen? Yeah, it's not life and death now, is it?
That's true.
The worst that will happen is that you quote unquote fail, which is fine. But all the successful people in the world I know, they failed many times. Many times. So externally to everybody, just
Thank you.
Why not?
Thank you.
What's your energy hack?
Thank you.
Yes.
So my energy hack is family. What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say?
You got a box.
No. But to be honest with you, no, you are absolutely correct. Because I know that having that peace and that at home helps you go out there to face whatever you have to face. That's the honest truth.
Yes.
But yes, we have to stay in theme, right? But before we leave, please, it will be unjust if people can't find you. I would like you to look in the camera and let us know, full name in terms of your LinkedIn profile, how we can find you, how we can, our audience can, contact you.
So before I go into that, I want to thank your amazing team. You guys can see them. They are on standby, waving,
Standing
well
safe.
done, guys. Yeah. I really enjoyed myself. So yes, again, my name is Yinka Okweke. You can find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Yinka Okweke. That's YINKA-OPEKE. And our website is my company is Smart Energies, and our website is www.smartenergiesng.com. And I think on Instagram, that's what it is as well. I think it's a hyphen, smartenergiesng.com. I look forward to connecting with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yinka. Piggybacking on what you said, Dami and the team. Piggyback like 10 times
on this last one, don't say Dr. Try. Let's see how it's going to sound.
Okay,
Just try.
Yinka.
You see?
No, it's not giving. It's not giving.
It's not giving.
But yeah, my name is Isiaq Bolanriwa. Isiaq is spelled Ishak, so people call me Isiaq
I
or
say
Ishak.
Ishak, so I apologize.
More people call me, I call myself Ishak sometimes. That's how many people call me Ishak. But it's fine. It's ISHAQ Bolanriwa, BOLARINWA. I'm on LinkedIn. The company is called Anfani, ANFANI. We're on LinkedIn as well. Our website is anfani.uk, also anfani.energy as well.
Thank you. I really appreciate you. I know it was to bring you guys together. I knew it was going to be magic, and we had that. Thank you so much, and thank you to everyone. Don't forget to like, hit that subscribe button, and follow us for more episodes on the Energy Hack podcast.
Energy Hack.
Well
Thank you.
Well done.